Adaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane. We are assembled here for our monthly Bhagavat Katha. This is number 13. And we will hear about how Krishna left Hastinapura after the battle of Kurukshetra. I would ask you to please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, we are picking up and we recite the invocation which gives us the impetus to attend this monthly program. Sri Narada Uvacha Srinvan Bhagavato Bhikshnam Avatara Katamritam Sradadhano Yata Kalam Upashanta Janavrita. A grihasta must associate again and again with saintly persons, and with great respect must hear the nectar of the activities of the Supreme Lord and His incarnations, as these activities are described in Srimad Bhagavatam and other Puranas. So today's session is from the first canto, and we are studying chapter 10. First part is text 1 through Chani. Please follow along. You will get a lot more out of it. Shonaka Muni asked, after killing his enemies who desired to usurp his rightful inheritance, how did the greatest of all religious men, Maharaj Yudhishthira, assisted by his brothers, rule his subjects? Surely he could not freely enjoy his kingdom with unrestricted consciousness. So a demon, if he's in charge, he will rule unrestricted. He'll do whatever he wants, won't care about rules, the Vedas, no. Whatever his whim is, that's the sign of a demoniac leader. But Yudhishthira is just the opposite. He cannot have unrestricted consciousness because he's Raja Rishi. He's a king and also a saintly person because he follows strictly, perhaps maybe too strictly, the rules and regulations of the Vedas. Sutra Goswami said, Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the maintainer of the world, and that word everybody say, Janardana, became pleased after re-establishing Maharaj Yudhishthira in his own kingdom, and after restoring the Kuru dynasty, which had been exhausted by the bamboo fire of anger. So that restoring, that was the saving of Maharaj Parikshit, because he was the last descendant. So by Krishna saving Parikshit, that was achieved, restoring, because the Kauravas all done. So that Parikshit is important. Maharaj Yudhishthira, after being enlightened by what was spoken by Bhishma Dev and Lord Sri Krishna, the infallible, so that name everybody say, Achyuta, engaged himself in matters of perfect knowledge because all of his misgivings were eradicated. Thus, he ruled over the earth and seas and was followed by his younger brothers, namely Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadev. During the reign of Maharaj Yudhisthira, the clouds showered all the water that people needed, and the earth produced all the necessities of man in profusion. Due to its fatty milk bag and cheerful attitude, the cow used to moisten the grazing ground with milk. The rivers, oceans, hills, mountains, forests, creepers, and active drugs in every season paid their tax quota to the king in profusion. Because of the king's having no enemy, the living beings were not at any time disturbed by mental agonies, diseases, or excessive heat or cold. So this description, this was all due because Maharaj Yudhisthira was the righteous king. And we can see all this description now is the opposite in the current age of Kali, which has just passed 5,000. All these symptoms, just the opposite now. But during Yudhisthira, look how nice everything was. Sri Hari, Lord Sri Krishna, resided at Hastinapura for a few months to pacify his relatives and please his own sister, Subhadra. Afterwards, when the Lord asked permission to depart, and the king gave it, the Lord offered his respects to Maharaj Yudhisthira by bowing down at his feet. So when Krishna does that, he's playing the role. He's teaching an example. He's showing that everyone should offer their homage to this righteous king. So Krishna, in this instance, even though he's God, he's behaving like an ordinary human to teach others. And the king embraced him. After this, the Lord, being embraced by others and receiving their obeisances, got into his chariot. So those who were, materially speaking, on an equal platform, they would get to embrace Krishna. But those who were junior, like Nakula and Sahadev, they would offer their obeisances. So it was dependent on the social relationship. After this, the Lord, being embraced by others and receiving their obeisances, got onto his chariot. We heard in previous sessions, Krishna already tried to get on his chariot, but he was stopped by Uttara, and then he was stopped by Kunti. He was already planning. As it says, he just spent 2 months. Or no, it says a few months, so I'm not sure. A few months. And that was all because of Uttara and Kunti, and also Yudhisthira also requested him, please stay a little longer. But now it's time to go. So he got onto his chariot. At that time, Subhadra, Draupadi, Kunti, Uttara, Gandhari, Dhritarashtra, Yuyutsu, Kripa Acharya, Nakula, Sahadev, Bhimasena, Daumya, and Satyavati all nearly fainted because it was impossible for them to bear separation from Lord Krishna. So here is a sign that these devotees love Krishna. If somebody you don't like, somebody's your enemy, you don't faint, oh, he's gone. No, it's like, guy, get out. But when you love someone and you have great attachment, this can happen. The intelligent, who have understood the Supreme Lord in association with pure devotees, and have become freed from bad materialistic association, can never avoid hearing the glories of the Lord, even though they have heard them only once. So that's an important concept that these pastimes, these narrations, Krishna Katha, are so powerful, so attractive, that you want to hear them more and more. For instance, I know devotees, they read Bhagavad Gita day in, day out, year in, year out. Why? They have great affection for Bhagavad Gita. So, these pastimes, these narrations, katha, they're ever fresh. Okay. How then could the Pandavas tolerate his separation? For they had been intimately associated with his person, seeing him face to face, touching him, conversing with him, and sleeping, sitting, and dining with him. All their hearts were melting for him on the pot of attraction. They looked at him without blinking their eyes, and they moved hither and thither in perplexity. The female relatives, whose eyes were flooded with tears out of anxiety for Krishna, came out of the palace. So those devotees, they have parental feelings. That is their rasa. They could stop their tears only with great difficulty. They feared that tears would cause misfortune at the time of departure. And while the Lord was departing from the palace of Hastinapura, different types of drums like mridanga, dol, nagra, dunduri, and dundubi, and flutes of different types, as well as veena, gomukha, and beri, all sounded together to show Krishna honor. Out of a loving desire to see the Lord, the royal ladies of the Kurus got up on top of the palace and, smiling with affection and shyness, showered flowers upon the Lord. And at that time, Arjuna, the great warrior and conqueror of sleep, what's that name? Gudakesh. We'll see that name in Bhagavad Gita. Oh, Gudakesh, conqueror of sleep. At that time, conqueror of sleep, who was the intimate friend of the most beloved Supreme Lord, took up an umbrella which had a handle of jewels and embroidered with lace and pearls. Uddhava and Satyaki began to fan the Lord with decorated fans. And the Lord, as the master of Madhu, seated on scattered flowers, commanded them along the road. And it was being heard here and there that the benedictions being paid to Krishna were neither befitting nor unbefitting, because they were all for the Absolute, who was now playing the part of a human being, absorbed in the thought of the transcendental qualities of the Lord, who was glorified in select poetry. So that name, Uttama Shloka, everybody. The ladies on the roofs of all the houses of Hastinapur began to talk of him, and this talk was more attractive than the hymns of the Vedas. We'll stop here for